Sophi Cunningham is now injured. Cunningham got hurt in a WNBA overtime win over Connecticut, one of the worst teams in the league. Pulling off one of their biggest comebacks, Cunningham left the game with a knee injury in the second quarter. This happens while at the same time Caitlin Clark remains out with a groin injury and has been out for the last month. And Aria McDonald and Sydney Colson have also suffered season-ending injuries in the same game on August the 7th. Indiana still is hanging by a thread. They're 19-16, and they are, as of right now, if the season ends today, the 6th seed in the WNBA playoffs. Obviously, the top 8 get in. Clark's injury, obviously, was the story of the year, and there's no denying now that whether or not due to that injury, before she went out, she was no longer an elite player in the NBA, in the WNBA. She was no longer on that level, at least this year. If she gets fully healthy, maybe she'll be on that level again next year, but she was no longer on that level this year. I called that. I noticed it was happening 2 months ago, and a lot of people got upset, and I have been proven right on that. However, I'm not here to attack Caitlin Clark because she's been getting hurt. I'm here to say this about the Indiana Fever. They need to go ahead and tank the season. They need to go ahead and tank the season. There is no reason whatsoever for Indiana to even consider trying to make the playoff. Okay? They should tank the season, try to get the highest pick possible in the WNBA draft. Okay? There is a WNBA Draft Lottery, for those who don't know. And it's only for the teams that miss the playoff. With that in mind, yes, they should go all out to tank the season and try to get the highest pick in the WNBA draft. I'm sorry, they should. They already have talent elsewhere with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Okay, Aaliyah Boston is a rising star and getting better by the day as a post player, and she's been wildly consistent since coming into the league. Kelsey Mitchell has been their best player and was even before Caitlin Clark got hurt. However, when Caitlin Clark gets healthy, assuming at the end of the year for next year, and so Sophi Cunningham comes back as the enforcer, this team could be loaded if they get another top pick. Now, I wouldn't bring back Clark the rest of the year because of that. I'd sit her the rest of the year. And now I'd sit Cunningham too. I'd sit Clark and Cunningham. There is no reason to bring these people back when you have literally no shot at winning a title. Even if they come back, Clark's at least going to be banged up. She's completely out of rhythm right now because she hasn't been fully healthy in a month. Her entire game relies on rhythm as a sharpshooter. Her turnovers have still been a problem. She's averaging over 5 turnovers a game on the year. I think when you take that into account, there's no way you can look at Clark and say that she can come back this year. She was shooting 27.9% from 3 before she got hurt. Okay. Her turnovers staying above 5 a game, like I said, are a problem. Her field goal percentage is down. Her free throw percentage is down. Everything's down. Clark needs to stay on the bench this year and get fully healthy for next year. Now, again, this could play into the whole narrative of the league hating Caitlin Clark. Maybe it is true that the reason she's struggling this year and the reason she's battled her injuries is because she's taken more of a beating than anybody else. She talks a lot of trash, and so sometimes people give her that beating, but I think the popularity of her has also resulted in her taking much more physical punishment, and I do think that has taken a toll on her quality of play. But whatever the reason, she needs to get fully healthy in the offseason. She needs to get fully healthy so she can do what she does best, which is jack up logo threes and humiliate anybody that gets in her way. And if she does that while cutting down on the turnovers, which she needs to work on in the offseason, and get to 100%, she could be super elite next year. When you also consider Sophi Cunningham, if you get her fully healthy so she can be Clark's enforcer, which is big, that's a big deal. Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston will be fully fine next year, and you can with the WNBA Draft Lottery the way it is, you can get an elite top pick next year if you tank. There is no reason for them to go there's absolutely no reason for them to try to make the playoffs this year. None whatsoever. You could have a dominant inside game, which would make Clark's style of play a lot easier if you get Lauren Betts out of UCLA, who right now seems like the top prospect for next year's WNBA draft. You can move Clark over to the 2 and draft Olivia Miles out of TCU. I think that wouldn't be a bad move. If you need more scoring, you could also add Azzi Fudd, who is shooting 43.6% from 3. Tanaya Latson from South Carolina is an elite slashing scorer. I don't think that would work within the system of what they're trying to do because of Caitlin Clark. They want to build the scoring around Caitlin Clark. But then there's Flau'jae Johnson, who would be an enforcer, who would fight, and she is an elite three-point shooter herself. You can start to stretch the floor more. I think, though, if you can, you want to try to go for Lauren Betts, and your best way to try to get her is to tank the year. So I would go all out and tank. Now, at the same time, there's Sarah Williams later in the draft, and you might still land her even if you make the playoffs, and maybe that's all you need, the Wisconsin forward, and then you could have a dominant inside game. I think the goal, though, is to find another key player that could really help you go to the next level. And the best way to do that is for Cunningham and Clark to stay out the rest of the year, particularly Clark. Don't get her further re-injured. Work on getting her back into 100% shape in the offseason and enjoy the benefits of missing the playoffs. Look, this can be, if Clark is what we all say she is, and she did deserve Rookie of the Year last year. I've just talked about how she's regressed this year, but if she is all of that, you could look at this as the Michael Jordan second year, where he suffered his injury in 85-86. Now, he forced his way back to try to get to the Bulls to the playoffs. They got to the playoffs at 30-52, which was laughable to think about. Hurt them in the lottery. You could say it helped long-term because there was a winning mentality that came with Jordan trying to force them to the playoffs, and then that's why they won 6 titles. Looking back, though, I think they would have taken, even still, you would take not making the playoffs and being in the lottery. I think Indiana would do the same thing. So with that in mind, if I'm Indiana, I take the season off. I tank the rest of the year. There's no reason to try to win. They shouldn't have tried to beat Connecticut the other night when they came back to do that.